Hello, I'm Richard Crump and welcome to the latest Periscope Friday afternoon live with Accountancy Age. Kevin Reed is still away on holiday, so you're stuck with me again for another week. Bit of a dress down Periscope, as I actually forgot to wear my suit. But you're here for the incisive commentary, not for my stylish clothes. Anyway, today we're going to be looking at a couple of things. Corporate culture. One, looking at a lead feature on our sister title, Financial Director. Really looking at the importance of corporate culture as it pertains to governance, but for the role of practitioners, can it actually be measured, assessed, audited, or given assurance on? But before we go into that, we're going to look at another changing culture going on at some of the firms, and this is changes to application processes for graduates, school leavers, and internships, work placements, and things like that. PwC this week announced it had received its highest ever number of applications. Over 41,000 students applied for just 2,000 jobs at the Big Four firm. Now this follows its decision to scrap UCAS scores as entry criteria for its graduate roles. As a result, applications have increased 15% on the same period last year. Now the idea of the move is to enable the firm to diversify its graduate intake, and that really is going to add people from other cultural backgrounds to get in the firm. Now this is interesting because Grant Thornton became the first firm to have done this, or so-called elite accountancy firms, a couple of years ago. They too this week announced that its 2014 intake was up 12%, and once again it's changing the kind of dynamic of the people coming through. EY very recently announced it's going to scrap its own academic qualification programs for its 2016 schemes. Now, under the EY one, students are going to no longer be required to have a minimum of 300 UCAS points, a 2-1 degree classification to make an application. Instead, EY is going to have a new suite of online strength assessments and numerical tests to assess the potential of applicants. Now, I think the interesting thing this is going to mean is whether we're going to see KPMG, Deloitte, BDO undertake similar programs, how the firms are going to have different ways to assess the quality of people coming in, and whether it's going to mean any changes to their training within their programs, and whether schools, universities will need to change their own approach to actually get people into the accountancy profession, what kind of skills they're going to need, and is there a role for the institutes too, given that people are going to be waiving these kind of schemes. And the second point I'd make is recently elite firms got accused of systematically excluding people from less well-off backgrounds. Now clearly through some of the things they're doing, they've gone some way to addressing that. And you could even argue that such accusations were unfair. Maybe people disagree. But looking more broadly at corporate culture, so the big feature in Financial Director that's just been published today, looking at so many failings, to Toshiba being one, comes down to a failure of corporate culture, key part of governance. But for finance directors and accountants as well, it's a bit of an abstract concept. You know, how do you set KPIs and all the things you'd normally measure to actually assess whether a good corporate culture is the best one? As Ken Aliso, who's the director of the Institute of Directors, who's recently done a study on this, he says, unlike good art, which is hard to define but easy to recognise, good governance is both hard to define and hard to recognise. That is the nub of the problem. Conceptually, it is easy to articulate, but when asked to truly define and measure culture, it slips into the too difficult box, or morphs into values which, far from being differentiating factors for the business, turn into a mushy coalescence of familiar adjectives that could be applied to many businesses: integrity, honesty, respect, collaboration, fairness, and so on. Yet there are possibilities, such as developing dashboards to capture a number of factors, including customer complaints, whistleblower statistics, health and safety failings, customer satisfaction results, employee service, diversity, community engagement, attitudes to risk, and various other things. But is there a role for the practitioners here? Clearly, internal auditors, being at the coalface, they should have a lot of understanding at the health of a business, and probably can or are going to be playing a greater role. There's a big report from the Institute of Business of Ethics on exactly this thing, on how internal audit and what some firms are doing. Aberdeen Asset Management would be an interesting business to look at because they've kind of pioneered this a couple of years ago. And external auditors, can they be providing assurance in this area? Well, possibly. Maybe they don't have the same insights that internal auditors can have. But with changes in integrated reporting, broader auditor assessments, it is an area that's getting more traction, and auditors are clearly looking for other assurance service lines. You know, given big changes to audit regulation, they can't offer a lot of non-audit work, so they want to make up the shortfall elsewhere. Providing insurance on things like culture could be a way to go. Yet there is still some way to go before probably they have the mindset or the tools necessarily to undertake that. So it'll be interesting to see how this develops as things go forward. Now that's all it is for today. Obviously, always keen to hear any suggestions of things you'd like to hear discussed. Otherwise, I think Kevin Reid will be back in the hot seat next week, so he'll see you then. Cheers, bye.